So I was reading the Washington Post today, and their lead editorial has it that we shouldn't be waterboarding the likes of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or Ramzi bin al-Shibh, regardless of how many people they set on fire in the World Trade Center, regardless of how many people plunged to their deaths from the 90-something floor and splattered on the sidewalk so that their families could watch it live on television at home. It doesn't matter because this is all about our own sense of decency. And the Washington Post argues that we certainly shouldn't be waterboarding the likes of these mass murderers from some troglodyte hell, because God knows we would be upset if another country did that to American citizens, wouldn't we? And we'd be upset if Al-Qaeda or terrorist groups treated our guys that way when they captured them, wouldn't they? Let's set aside for a moment the more ridiculous part of that, which is, of course, that the members of Al-Qaeda or radical Islamists around the world would do anything other than genitally mutilate while you're alive, stuff your genitals into your mouth, decapitate you, and leave your body stacked neatly on the side of the road with a note attached to the forehead like a so much cordword. Let's just set that aside because that's beyond ridiculous. And to suggest that Al-Qaeda would do anything other than that is, of course, laughable on the face of it. And I don't think we're going to convince Al-Qaeda to stop being Al-Qaeda because we mollycoddle and provide teams of pro bono lawyers and culturally sensitive meals to the world's leading mass murderers. But let's get to the other point that the Washington Post is attempting to make here, that somehow Spain or some other country is going to capture our guys, presumably standing in the security line at the airport in Barcelona on their way to there to smoke pot and chase girls, and the government of Spain is going to take our guys aside and they're going to waterboard them because they want to get information out of them about how their meal was on the flight and that sort of thing. That's literally the liberal logic that we're talking about in 2009. All these years after all these massacres, we're talking about, well, we wouldn't want other countries to do that to our guys, right? Well, you're right, we wouldn't want other countries to do that to our guys, and I would disapprove of that. Unless, of course, the fact pattern were actually the same in Spain as the fact pattern is here. If the United States had created an army of pit-dwelling religious fanatics who were hell-bent on mass murder on an epic scale and globally, and the Spanish authorities captured the leading lunatic from this crazed murder death cult in the United States inside of Spain, and they knew that this crazy American fanatic was planning on murdering thousands more Americans, and the proof was in the pudding because this guy was already proudly proclaiming that he was the one behind the murder of thousands and thousands of Spaniards the last time around, as they incinerated in buildings, and we knew that that was just an opening salvo and that they were just warming up and that they were trying to acquire nuclear weapons and spread biological diseases in an effort to kill as many people as they possibly could. Now, if the Spanish had this American in custody and he had already, as part of this death cult, murdered thousands of Spaniards ruthlessly and brutally and became a hero in his psychotic community for that, and when he was captured, the Spanish knew that there were more plans in the pipeline, and that more Spaniards were going to be murdered mercilessly at the hands of this barbarous American lunatic, then I, back here, rather than opposing the Spanish efforts to save Spanish lives, to prevent this American-inflicted mass murder on innocent people in Spain, I would be bottling up water here and sending it to the Spanish so that they could waterboard the urine out of this guy until they got the necessary information so that thousands of Spaniards were not murdered again by an American death cult, by a fanatic from this crazy murderous cult in the United States. That would once again be an absolute disgrace to our culture and to our people. Fortunately, that's not the fact pattern, but if it were the fact pattern, I would support Spain's decision to waterboard these people until they got the information necessary to prevent the mass murder of their fellow citizens, because it would be the sensible thing to do. It would be the logical thing to do. It would be the practical thing to do. And it would be the morally correct thing to do, knowing that you have this mass murder in your custody, and that by taking action, you could prevent the mass, wholesale slaughter of innocent life by inflicting fear without a bruise, without a mark, without any lasting damage of any kind, then certainly Spain, go ahead. We'll help. Save those lives and send the right message to the troglodytes.